With quite a saturated market for budget Chi-Fi IEMs, brands are always looking for a new angle to enter this tough segment. With Kinera, they're opting for kind of nice eye candy designs and providing good bang for buck. Well, with this Celeste Rue from them, I think they certainly fulfilled the eye candy part because quite literally it does look like a piece of candy, right? And at a mere 15 bucks, it might just pull off the bang for buck aspect as well. But before we get into the video, a like and a sub would really help the channel grow. Alright, let's jump right in. First is gonna be the box. It's a pretty small basic package, but you do have some style points thanks to the striking purple and orange paint printing, making for a very vibrant theme. Open that up and you'll see the pink Rue in a basic plastic insert with 3 sizes of clear colored ear tips tucked below. There's also the cable, comprising of 2 kind of silvery looking strands just joined together, splitting back into 2 at the simple Y splitter, but you do get a 1 button mic club. And here's a sample from the microphone on the cable of the Kinera Celest Rue. It's a no-frills basic cable that just gets the job done but has decently low microphonic noise, and I always appreciate the inclusion of a jack condom. Still though, that's basically it for the unboxing. You get the bare minimum just to get started, but I would have liked to see more tip variety and maybe a small pouch as well. If Fail could put a bunch of stuff in their Poppy IEM for like 10 bucks, then surely the unboxing experience can be improved here. Let's get to the Celeste Rue. Now we're going for a close sort of candy gloss look with this IEM, and thanks to my Discord members who wanted to see the pink version, here we have the pink version. On the faceplates you can see they have Celeste written to the sides, and it uses standard 2-pin connectors as always. Now Kinera, they always know how to make a fancy resin shell, and even with this IEM that's pretty cheap, they still keep a pretty high build standard. With a well-finished glossy resin in a familiar and compact shell that is very comfortable in the ears. It's a little smaller than the Celeste Wyvern, sporting a single 6mm dynamic to get the size down to a, I'd say, manageable footprint. With that small dynamic driver, how does the Celeste Rue perform? Pretty decent actually, sporting a sort of warmer sound profile with an impressive low end given its diminutive size. Now for the bass, I was fully expecting the Celeste Rue to sort of have a conservative impact, right? Having been used to smaller dynamics just being unable to push so much rumble. But the Rue, it certainly exceeded my expectations with margin to spare. Now you have a very healthy dose of thump and sub bass with strong quantity and decent quality as well, portraying I think a longer decayed dynamic without distorting or clipping. The bass boost here is also quite clean. It very rarely bleeds into the other frequency ranges. Now of course it's still gonna be a smaller driver IEM, so there's not much EQ headroom as the sort of driver it has already been driven to its limit for the bass, but you'll get more than your fair share of bass for the Rue. Lower mid-range on the Rue is about neutral, with just a tinge of warmth benefiting from that gradual bass slope as seen from the graphs. As said before, very little bass bleeding, which keeps instruments, elements clean and distinct. The peanut gain regions adapt to the small dynamic driver's abilities. It's being quite reserved, quite pulled back, with a lower rise, and I think that's actually a good choice here. Although it pulls back the vocal presence, especially some female vocals, they lose a bit of body to them, and it sacrifices the energy and sharpness you often hear from other IEMs. It ensures there's no weird shoutiness or graininess, and it's just a very non-fatiguing sound. Going to treble, the lack of an 8 kHz boost makes for a rounded off texture on the lower treble registers. And although it's quite clear that this driver, it's not so adept in the high ranges. Now it's rolled off in a pleasing and I'd say inoffensive manner. It does disadvantage the Rue for metal. The heavier side of EDM also doesn't work quite as well, and DMB, drum and bass, which it just wants a bit more bite. But it's otherwise quite enjoyable for lighter genres of music. With its warm-leaning signature and a closed IEM design, the Rue has a slightly narrower than average stage width. Now it has basic stage depth, although musical elements they tend to line up to play into your ears rather than portraying like a proper height presence. But for a micro dynamic IEM, the Rue is doing a very nice job of keeping details, macro details separated, keeping up with the current $20 roster of Chi-Fi IEMs, and for the most part edging out the last generation of $20 budget Chi-Fi like the original SoundNote Zero. Micro details are where the Rue stumbles. Here, it's selectively but inevitably discarding nuances and stuff in order to, I'd say, keep the main melodies and the beats from becoming too smeared off. Now, the relaxed tuning does help to mask this weakness, but if you're looking for details or like strong technical performance rather than analog, more enveloping tuning, then the Rue, it won't butter your toast. So for a few more bucks, Kinera will sell you the Wyvern Black, which sports a bigger dynamic driver and the black and purple faceplate that looks quite stunning as well. If bling bling is your thing, then the Wyvern Black has more drip for sure. Now sound-wise, the Wyvern, it has a slightly less exaggerated bass profile, and its upper mids enjoy more presence and sharpness, which makes it seem quite bright compared to the Rue, but it's actually quite balanced. Treble is more extended on the Wyvern Black as well, with slightly more fidelity on show. Despite that, I actually somehow like the sound of the Rue more. It's just, I'd say, more calm and easygoing, which I quite liked over my time listening to it. Whereas the Wyvern, it sometimes feels a little bland, lacking a certain landmark that makes it stand out. Now, technicalities is where the Wyvern Black does dominate. It has that $5 extra in price, and it really makes a noticeable difference here in that micro extraction, and it lets the Wyvern just go the extra mile in a more complex mix. Honestly, I wish I could take the tuning from the Rue and put it into the Wyvern Black, and I'll probably do that later with auto EQ as well. Out of the crop of these newer $20 Chi-Fi IEMs, my favorite by far has been the Tanchjim Bunny. It shares a small size, much like the Rue, but with a different shell shape, a little different fit, and it's opting for transparent plastic compared to the Rue's opaque resin. Although you're paying extra for the DSP, the Bunny gets a bit more EQ functionality from that. Though if you have both IEMs, of course, you can mix and match the cables to use the DSP as well. Sound-wise, the Bunny on its default DSP setting is more balanced, I guess you could say professional take on compared to the color tuning of the Rue. Now you've got a tamer, a leaner bass on the Bunny, and it doesn't have that much of a rumble impact element, but the Rue here, with that bass, it almost seems bombastic in comparison. Lower mids from the Bunny are neutral without becoming boring. And its upper pinna gain, it's more accommodating to vocals as well. It's more elegant, whilst the Rue's is more, I'd say, atmospheric. Technicalities still favor the Bunny, but it's a closer race than compared to the Wyvern Black to Rue comparison. The Rue, it keeps up in macro detailing, but predictably falls short in portraying the nuances, and its soundstage seems a bit more narrow than the Bunny's. This may be a result from the tuning as well, but I'll count it here. I think the Bunny, it does get the win, though if you really can't make the $5 jump, or hey, maybe you do prefer the much more bombastic, fun bass and the warmer sound, but Rue might just fit your boat. With multiple choices in the $20 bracket offering kinda similar tunings, they all err on the safer side. The Celeste Rue from Kinera carves a small side path, providing a relaxed, warm sound that has surprisingly impressive bass performance given that the microdynamic driver is sitting in its core. The candy colorways, the high gloss finish, and its solid build continues to put Kinera's artisan pedigree on center stage, even with the diminutive $15 price tag. Now certainly technical performance and the unboxing experience can be improved here, but at such a low price, I guess it's hard to ask more from the Celeste Rue, which puts up a formidable performance in a smaller package. Thank you to Kinera for providing the Celeste Rue for review, but as always, they do not have any creative or editorial control over my videos, and all that I've said in this review are my honest thoughts.